Have you ever stopped and asked yourself this? What if the house you live in is already writing your future? Not your job, not your degree, not even your income, your house. Sounds strange, right? But stay with me, because what if your walls, your mortgage, your equity, what if it all is quietly scripting where your family ends up in the next 10 years? Welcome to Epic Spotlight. I'm Dante Royster. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Dante, my mortgage is just a bill. It's like Netflix, but with worse customer service. But I promise you, it's not just a bill. It's a blueprint. And if you don't pick up the pen, somebody else will write that blueprint for you. The bank, the government, or worse, the investor circling your neighborhood like a hawk that hasn't eaten in weeks. Let me take you back to 2015. I was at a house on the south side of Chicago. Old brick bungalow. Porch sagging just a bit, and the smell of fried chicken drifting through the kitchen. Like an uninvited guest. I was sitting at the dining room table with my clients. Husband in a faded Bulls t-shirt, wife twisting a pen so hard I thought she was going to snap it. Two kids in the corner, pretending they weren't listening, but they were. But every word was sinking in. They had tax debt stacked on their family home like some Jenga blocks. And one wrong move meant investors could swoop in and take everything. The husband leaned in, eyes heavy, and asked me, Dante, tell me the truth. Are we screwed? Now, that's not a question you answer lightly. And I laughed, not because it was funny, but because sometimes the only way to soften the truth is to dress it in humor. I said, no, you're not screwed, unless you do nothing, I told them. Here's the thing most people don't get. Your mortgage isn't just debt, it's leverage. And debt in the right hands is like fire, and it can burn down your house or it can cook your dinner. Depends on who's holding the match. So, what do you think the family did? Step one, we assessed their equity. Turns out they were sitting on a gold mine that they didn't even realize. Step two, we structured a refinance that cleared their tax debt and stopped the vultures at the door. Step three, we set them on a financial roadmap where their mortgage was no longer a burden, but a weapon. And here's the beautiful part their stress lifted. You could feel it in the air. His wife stopped twisting that pen. The kids started talking about backyard barbecues again. And he looked at me with a grin and said, Dante, you just saved my house. I said, no, man, you saved it. I just showed you where the exit door was. The wife looked at me and said, but Dante, I thought refinancing meant starting all over again, paying 30 more years. That's myth number one. Refinancing always restarts the clock? No, that's wrong. Refinancing can shorten the clock, reset the terms, or free up money that saves you from financial disaster. It's not a reset button all the time. It's a strategy button. The husband shook his head. I heard if we refinance, the bank wins and we lose, TikTok told me. The bank always wins? Not true. Banks win when you don't know the rules. When you do know the rules, you can flip the board and start playing your own game. And the kids, when they were listening in, they just looked up like, Mom, Dad, does this mean we're keeping the house? That's the moment I knew this wasn't about math. It was about stability. It was about hope. So that is when we started peeling back the myths like layers of an onion. And here's another myth appeared. I need perfect credit to buy or refinance a house. No. If your credit was a teenager, it doesn't have to be valedictorian. Sometimes it just has to show up to class. There are programs, options, and strategies for less than perfect credit. Another myth I hear, the lowest interest rate is always the best deal. Listen, chasing the lowest rate is like buying sushi from a gas station. It looks cheap up front, but you'll pay for it later. What matters more is the overall cost, the terms, and how it fits into your life strategy. Let's not forget about another myth. I can't afford to buy until I pay off all my debt. Wrong again. Sometimes leveraging real estate is the fastest way to pay off debt. You don't wait until you're rich to buy a house. You buy the house to start building wealth. And here's a big one, something that I used to hear especially after 2008 housing bubble. Isn't renting safer until I'm ready? Safe? That's like saying standing still in the middle of the traffic is safer than moving forward. Rent is just paying somebody else's mortgage with none of the perks. Why do that? Now, here's why I'm telling you this today, not 6 months from now. The game is changing every single day. Rates move like the stock market, up and down. Hesitation costs real money. Equity shifts. The same home today could be worth thousands more or less tomorrow. And life doesn't wait for you to feel ready. Every month you hesitate is another month the bank profits off your inaction. Another month investors position themselves. Another month your future self is screaming back in time, why didn't you move when you had the chance? So the urgency isn't mine, it's yours. It's your family's. It's your future self begging you not to let this opportunity slide. So let's come back to that question. Is your house writing your story or are you? If you believe the myths, if you sit in hesitation, if you let fear write your choices, then your house is in control. It'll decide when you move, how much you pay, and whether your kids inherit stability or stress. But if you grab the pen, if you learn the truth, bust the myths, and act intentionally, your mortgage becomes more than a bill. It becomes a tool, a lever, a story of freedom. And here's the kicker. Your story doesn't have to be tragic, or stressful, or full of regret. It can be a story of a family who fought back, who outsmarted the system, who turned their biggest payment into their biggest opportunity. So the question isn't whether your mortgage is shaping your future. The real question, who's writing your story? You or somebody else? And if you don't like the answer, then maybe today is the day you reach out to me. My contact information is right over here. And we put a plan together and turn the page and make a strategy that's going to work for you and your family. And as always, have an epic day.